Welcome to Spotlight Television. I'm your host, Tom Hegna. I'm really excited about our guest today, Jonathan Mason. I've known Jonathan for several years now. He's a financial guru down in Orlando. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
I appreciate you having me here. Thank you so much.
Now, you're a busy guy, but tell us how this all started. Tell us a little bit about your career.
I was born and bred to be a financial specialist because out of college, I was actually a breakdancer. So that part was really, we talked about it. Played soccer in school, had a couple knee surgeries, got out of school and didn't know what I wanted to do because the market's changing. We'll talk about that. But got back into entertainment, doing weddings, bar mitzvahs, corporate events, Sweet 16. We go downtown tonight. We're gonna have a good time. So I found myself in the entertainment world, and then 2008, 2009 happened with the markets and everything crashing. One thing that I realized, even after going to school and getting a degree, I knew nothing about money, nothing about finance, taxes, nothing. And my parents took a bad hit financially. My uncle lost a lot of money in his 401k. My grandfather lost half his money in portfolio. And I realized, number one, I couldn't help. Number two, I didn't even know what was going on. I couldn't even have a conversation with somebody about what was going on. And I realized I needed to learn this stuff for my life.
Well, there's so many options. If somebody is wants to get in the insurance industry, why would they want to go to you?
So one, our platform, I have multiple companies to work with. So I can work with the MetLife, the Fidelity, Allianz, AIG, National Life Group, American National, North American, Lincoln Financial Group, and I go, everyone. There's no quota, there's no minimum. And it makes it so easy to sit down with you is what are your needs, what are your goals, let's find the best option for you, not my only option. And on top of that, we design a custom plan that is for you, where other companies, well, here's what I have. And it becomes very cookie cutter. So we take more of a consulting approach, more of a specific approach, and everyone's got different needs between when their ages, their kids, are the kids grown up, are they older? I asked a couple the other day, I said, do you have kids? They said, yeah, but they're grown. I said, are they still your kids? They're grown, okay, they're grown kids, but they're still your kids. That means you need different kind of planning, whether it's legacy planning, long-term care strategy, because if you don't take care of yourself now, the kids are. And the worst thing that a parent can do is be a financial burden to a family. A lot of platforms are not teaching the full package. We look at the full picture, not just a screenshot.
The majority of people out there have a 401k. And there's some people who just say how great the 401k is. I think you and I say, okay, there's a place for it, but why do we want to defer our taxes if we know taxes are heading up? It made sense when taxes were coming down. You take it here, you get a deduction, and then you get it grow tax deferred, and then you take it out, the taxes are lower. Well, we know taxes are going to have to be higher. It's a math problem. So tell me about your thoughts on the 401k versus other alternatives out there.
Well, first we have to take care of the myths. What a 401k is, what it is not. Number one, a 401k is not a race, and so it's not a marathon on a holiday, okay? A 401k does not mean you're going to have $400 to $1,000 sitting in a retirement account. So a 401k is a tax code. And if you go to the history of it, so Tom, let me sell you on this. Let me sell you on this program. Back in the day, there were these things called, pensions, right? The real name was defined benefit plans. That's where the saying goes, get the job, get the benefits. Very expensive to run though. Not very cost effective. And with the baby boomers retiring, there's too many people retiring, which means there's too much money going out, not enough money coming in, which is the same issue with Social Security. So these companies in the 70s, when taxes were at a high, they said, we have to come up with this whole strategy of, we got to pay less, Tom. We got to pay less taxes. We're making too much money. I got an idea. We're going to do something for us, and we're going to sell it to the public. Watch this. We're going to call it a defined contribution plan. Ooh, that sounds good. That word, just sexy, contribution plan. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to offer these accounts to our employees, and we're going to put their money into stocks and mutual funds. Charge them all these fees they have no idea about. We don't even know who's watching the account. We're just going to call these, contribution plans. We're going to put some of our money into their account for them to contribute. We write it off our books. So we pay less in tax. They just defer it. So we pay less. They take all the risk. There's no more guaranteed income, no more predictability. They take all the risk and the fees, and we just shifted the risk from us to them. That's called your 401k plan. So a 401k is actually a salary reduction plan for highly paid executives, not even a pension replacement. So it's my retirement. Does your 401k protect you from losses? No. Does it give you long-term care? No. Does it guarantee an income? No. How's that retirement? And have you ever asked why is it the only thing they push? So it's not in the employee's best interest, it's in the employer's best interest. That's why most people that are wealthy or affluent have one-on-one private consultants where they can design things for you that meet your specific needs, not the cookie cutter stuff. And that's one thing that we specialize in is specific needs. So go into alternatives. The number one cause of bankruptcy right now is healthcare issues, mainly long-term care. And I think the last number, Tom, please correct me if I'm wrong, there's a 72% chance of you having some kind of long-term care need. Is that correct? Is that accurate? And the ages are different. So once you are 0 to 64, I think it's 40% chance. And then once you hit 65, 72% chance. And 64% of bankruptcies are from long-term care. And the biggest misconception is health insurance is covering long-term care. It does not. You're going to be coming out of pocket dollar for dollar versus leveraging it. So if I have my 401k, how do I make sure that my long-term care is covered? When I talk to clients about planning, going back to answer your question, there's 4 quadrants I think people should have money in. Cash, stock, real estate, and insurances. Cash is liquid, it's safe, it's awesome. Stock is all of equities, including even cryptocurrencies we'll talk about. Real estate is real estate. But the only sector of money and finance that's never lost in a depression, recession, or pandemic is the insurance sector, and the insurance's job is to protect the entire portfolio. So you talk about other alternatives. Well, what is the purpose of saving for retirement? It's to make money and never lose it. It's to lower or control my taxes and then cover my long-term care, because the biggest fear, I think, today, for boomers specifically, are people are afraid of outliving their money and not having enough. So we need solutions that can make sure they never outlive the money, don't lose money, pay less in taxes, and cover health care. And the scariest thing, I'm a little biased, but the best product to actually do that are insurance products. But people don't talk about it a lot. So I do think that life insurance, properly structured, not all life insurance, properly structured life insurance, as well as properly structured annuities, can solve a lot of their problems, and it's a great alternative to a 401k option.
Look, you work with a lot of successful people. You've seen people who haven't been successful. Is there like a secret ingredient for success?
Sure. I'll give you 4. I'll give you 4. I said 3 earlier. The first one is the meetings you attend. Because you have to be, that's the mastermind alliance. You have to be around the right people. This is a meeting. And we had a conversation over coffee before, like this is a meeting. And I think a lot of people don't value being in groups that can challenge them, which is, again, wisdom versus smart. Let your ego drop for a second and take some guidance and be humble about it, because a truly humble person can never be embarrassed. So if you're embarrassed by asking a question, then you got some work to do. So I think number 1 is the meetings you attend. 2 are the books you're reading. If you're not reading, you're not developing, even if it's audiobook. I think personal development is a major, major impact that is needed in today's society. Even in our company, all of our agents are required to read. We have a book of the month club because we want you to become the next best version of you. And one thing about studying, what I suggest to all my guys, is take a topic for 90 days and just read that. So if you want to get better at sales, just read sales. You want to get better at relationships, just read that. You want to get better at overcoming objections, just read that. You want to get better at how to fly a plane, like you want to drive a car better. Whatever it is, read whatever topic that interests you, study that for 90 days and move on to the next one and next one. So the meetings you attend, the books you read, and then it's your associations. Oh boy, does that matter. Because if you have that person in your ear, if they don't have what you want, why do you listen to them? It doesn't matter if we were friends in high school. If you no longer are adding value to my life, I love you as a person, but you're not adding value, we can't talk as much. We can't do this anymore. You can't be afraid to let people go if they're not adding to your life. And then the last one is a phrase called go again. You go again. Another way of saying you don't quit. I'm in downtown Orlando. I'm at this cigar lounge called Coronas. And there's a guy next to me, and he used to run one of the biggest gangs in Jacksonville back in the day. Got out, changed his life around, completely changed his life around. He's a multimillionaire now, does different stuff, a lot of stuff in real estate investments. And I said, let me ask you a question. This was maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And I was down the dumps. I was going through a tough time in my life. And I said, bro, what advice would you give a guy like me? I see what's going on. You know, you recreated yourself. What got you through all this stuff? He says, bro, you go again. What do you mean go again? He says, you go again. He starts telling me about how you grew up in the streets. He says, what other choice do you have? You go again. You mess up, you go again. It doesn't work out, you go again. This happens, you go again. And I said, dang, 2 words can change your life completely. You go again. If it doesn't work out, Tom, go again. We mess up, go again. You lose a client, go again. Recruit quits, go again. You just don't stop. And I think that's the part, that's the resiliency, the tenacity, the persistency that some people are missing. If you have that go again mentality, game over.
Jonathan, I can tell by what you've been talking about that ethics really plays a strong role, that you want to always do the best thing for your clients. Why are ethics so important? I talked about it in another session as well, but why is it so important?
Ethics is important across the board no matter what you do in life. When you tell the truth, there's nothing to remember. I got into this business because my own family got taken advantage of. And I'm not going to name company names, but it's a very, very big company. But I'm not going to let one advisor slander an entire corporation, because that's probably the advisor's fault, okay, if being fair. I find out that my grandfather was losing money. I found that my uncle was losing money. I found that my family was losing money, and it should have been looked after. And the challenge is, and with all transparency, we make a lot of money in our industry. If you Googled right now, what industry has created the most millionaires, financial services comes up. We're number 1 over everything. We do make a lot of money, but there's some things that we don't need to always get overcompensated for. We should be compensated for the work that we're doing, number 1. Number 2, there's people specifically in the insurance sector that are the one-trick ponies, that are pushing one thing, one company, one brand down people's throats because it pays fast. Old school insurance is proper planning. How much coverage do you need? Every $1 million every $50,000 of income should be $1 million of term because of interest rates and long-term care coverage. You have to plan properly. A lot of these guys are doing $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 of final expense. What the hell is that doing for a family? You're not changing a legacy. You're not creating a trust for the family. You're not doing nothing. What you did do was just make a fast paycheck. And I think the challenges with the advancements in technology in the industry, and financial services in general, is that people are losing sight of treating every client as if they're family versus what pays my bills today. So there's this commission breath, there's this desperation, I gotta make money now, or this form of recognition, they're recognition driven. My own family got taken advantage of, and I swore that never happened again. If I'm going to be a fiduciary acting in people's best interest, I better sit down with them, find out what their needs are and their goals are, and I better have a platform to give them the best options, and I better have access to it. And if I don't have access, I better refer it out properly.
We've covered a lot of information. I think there's some people out there who say, I like that Jonathan guy. How do I get a hold of him? How can somebody get a hold of you, either as somebody who wants to get in the business or a client that needs some help? How can they get a hold of you?
I know they're going to post it here, but obviously, number 1, you go to my Instagram. I do a lot of Instagram stuff. It's at JON Mason Money, JON Money. You go to my website, johnmasonmoney.com. You can go to my LinkedIn. You can go to my Facebook, Jonathan Mason. I'm very well, easy to find. My YouTube is John Mason Money again. Very easy to find. And again, I'm doing more and more stuff this year. I'll be speaking a few more spots, so I'm looking forward to it.
So Jonathan, thank you so much for being here today. I'm excited about our next guest, Susan Swinehart from Troy, Ohio. She works with Osaic Wealth. She's an attorney and a financial advisor. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, Susan, you have an interesting career. You didn't just, wind up as a financial planner. So tell me a little bit about your career.
Okay, I started out as a school teacher, so I taught for a few years. Then I became a reading consultant with a publishing company. Then my husband and I had our first child, and I thought, I don't want to travel anymore. So I didn't know what to do. My husband said, well, why don't you become a lawyer? And I thought about it, and my brother said, why don't you become a financial planner? And I thought about that. So I couldn't make my decision, so I thought, okay, I'm not going to make a decision. I'm going to go do both. So that's what I've done.
That's great. Now, you kind of have a specialized market, so kind of tell me how you've honed in on your market.
Okay, I work with women, and I also work with young people. And those are my markets.
And why do you like working with women, and why do you like working with young people?
I like working with women for the following reasons. One is that women statistically live longer than men, and so they have a longer retirement period. And this is what we found out with women. because they take time off sometimes to raise their kids. They are always the caregivers, so they take care of their parents and other relatives. So they have less time in the workforce to have money in their 401k or pension or whatever. So they are usually shorted when it comes to retirement. They need to know about what's going on in the family, like what they're doing with their wealth and their regular financial lives with their husbands. And also they're in the workforce more now than ever. So that's why I like working and helping women.
So now, what two categories of women do you especially like to work with?
I like to work with widows and divorced women. And first of all, I'm a widow, so I know how emotional that can be. And divorced women, that's also emotional for them. And what happens is we go from being we to me. And that's not only tough financially, it's also tough socially sometimes, because you are by yourself and you have to go to things by yourself. So with the widows, they have to get emotionally ready so that they can deal with the rest of their lives.
What are some of the other things about divorced women? What are some of those issues there?
Every woman who thinks she's heading to divorce should go see a financial planner. We know what they need to live on, and she may not have all the information, because sometimes the guys do like to hide some of their assets, or not be forthcoming on what they have. And so at least when they are in the divorce process, they need to come to us to say, should I forego the house and take the retirement plan, take some more of the pension? And attorneys are always trying to look at maybe the evenness or not evenness, but they don't worry about, is that woman going to have enough to live on in the lifestyle she wants, and even if it has to be reduced, because again, the two incomes make a big difference, but can she afford to live? And I'm telling you, it is devastating, and some of these women like to maintain that same lifestyle as when they were married. And they can't, they just have to forget it, do the best they can, have a spending plan, don't get into more debt, looking like you have more money than you do, because we know credit cards and all that's a downfall. So that's what I see in divorce. All women who are getting divorced need to see a financial planner first so they have a better view of what's going on.
You said you also like to work with young people.
I think that I like working with young people because schools fail in teaching them about financial things, and I think a lot of young people would get a better footing to start with if they had more information. It's trial and error. How many adults have learned by trial and error? And if you could reach an 18, 17-year-old to get them on the right foot, that would be great.
So give me some recommendations on what young people can do to have a healthier financial situation.
Well, one thing, they should have set aside emergency money so that if they're need new tires on their car, they have the money available. They should have 6 months worth of income and expenses so they don't hit that credit card because it's so easy, get that card out. And so that's one thing they can do, is always to have that. Plus, pay yourself first, 15 to 20% of your gross income. Now, some people will say, I'm going to put away what I have left over. No, you don't want to do that, because you'll never have anything left over. So do it first. If they get an increase in pay, then they put that away in savings and investments. So it's those little things that they need to do. And then anytime, here's something that I find really interesting. People get their tax returns back and they say, we use that money for vacation. Really, they're better off investing it. But they don't realize it's their own money that they let the government have, and they're getting it back from the government. And they'd be better off doing a budget type thing to see what they really can afford for vacation and deal with it that way, instead of using their tax refund to deal with vacation.
I know you have some examples of young people, how they spent their money unwisely. Kind of share that with the audience.
The Starbucks, okay, down the road from me where my office is, there's a Starbucks. That Starbucks is, the drive-through is busy from 6 o'clock in the morning until closing at night. And I drive by there and I go, oh my gosh, look at all that money going to waste. So let's say a Frappuccino is $7. So if you spend $7 a day for a month, that's $210 a month. And then if you do that for the whole year, it's $2,220. Now, We know that if you invested that money and got a 7% return for 15 years, and we know the market over a period of years has made up to 10% a year. So that 15 years would now be $66,562. That's 15 years at 7%. Now, if they let it go for 30 years at 7%, it'd be $256,193. Now, that's 1 year. Now, if a person went to Starbucks every day for 3 years, and you figure out that 256,000 times 3, so they wouldn't have to worry about Social Security. They have their own money. And that is just crazy to me.
So what's the best way for young people to kind of get back on track financially? Let's say they made some bad decisions, they're going to get back on track.
Well, a lot of financial planners like me, we will have a subscription where they can pay us so much a month, and we can help them and make the right decisions. And a lot of times young people don't want to go to a financial advisor because they say, I don't have money to invest. That's not what we're all about. We're helping them so that they will have money to invest. And so that's how they can get off to a good start. Don't listen to necessarily all your family members and the person beside who you work. I've heard that story so many of the times over the years. I'm going like, well, how long have they been a planner? You know? So that's how they can kind of get back on track with us.
You know, I've written about longevity risk, that longevity is not just a risk, it's a risk multiplier of all the other risks, because the longer you live, the more likely you'll take much money out, the more likely they'll raise your taxes, the more likely you're going to need long-term care, the more likely the market will crash, the more likely your taxes will go up. So longevity is not just a risk, it's a risk multiplier. And you talk a lot about longevity and its impact on women and retirement.
Yes, I talk about longevity to everybody, especially women, because they do outlive men. But this longevity, I'll say to people, we are going to plan for you to live for 100 years or more. And they say, most people say, I don't want to live to be 100 because I'll be in the nursing home and I'd rather be dead. And it's like, no, that's not the factor anymore. It isn't that. Genes are only a small part of how long a person lives. It's lifestyle, mostly. And what they're finding out how to live longer in a healthy way. And I follow Peter Diamandis, and he has, every week he puts out stuff about longevity, new things that they have learned about longevity, how to have it. And it isn't just like having medications out there where you're taking 25 of those. It's a lifestyle. And how you can improve your chances of having longevity. And not only that, there are new medical breakthroughs for people who have different diseases, but also with artificial intelligence now. And I say everybody should plan to live to be 100. You might not make it, but everybody should plan for that, just because you might make it, and then you're not going to be one of these people, if I known I was going to live to be that long, I would have saved and invested more money.
Yeah, most people underestimate their life expectancy, you know, and then they'll say, well, life expectancy gone down. Well, in the last couple of years it did, because of COVID, because of the vaccine, because of fentanyl, but that's not affecting the older people now that survived COVID. They're going to continue to live a long, long time. And so I think that really shows itself in the long-term care area, because I, for years, was recommending people get long-term care, and oh, I don't need it, my wife will take care of me. And I would look at the guy and say, okay, would you lay down here? Now, ma'am, just come over here, pick him up and carry him downstairs, put him in the car. She said, well, I can't do that. Well, that's long-term care. And I think it's especially important for women to have long-term care, because you've seen it yourself. The wife many times does take care of the husband, then he dies. Who's going to take care of her? And you know, for people who say, I don't want to be in a nursing home, I don't either. That's why I have a long-term care insurance policy. I call it anti-nursing home insurance. I call it stay-at-home insurance. You know, I made my parents buy long-term care insurance. They didn't want to. It was too expensive. We'll never need it. Well, guess what? They spent years in assisted living, and if they hadn't got those policies, they would have been literally wiped out. And so I think it's so important for people to understand how longevity can impact all the different areas of their retirement. So you're an estate planning attorney too. So tell me about how that role, you know, helps your clients.
Okay, I totally understand estate planning, how to do it, what to do it. And here's a figure. 2/3 of the people don't have a will or a trust or anything. And So I don't know. Those people must know something you and I don't know, and they must never going to be dying. I guess that's the story. And everybody needs one, because if you don't have one of those things and you have assets, then in most states the law says who's going to get what. And why do you want somebody who you really dislike, who's a relative, might end up getting some of your assets? I don't get that. And so it's much easier if there is estate planning. So with the financial planning, I can help people do the right thing on accomplishing their estate plan. And so I know that, what it is that they need to give whatever to whomever. And then during their lives, it has to be tweaked a little bit, because nothing stays the same, although a lot of people think everything stays the same, but nothing ever stays the same. So I can change that a little bit and still meet their goals of what they want in their estate plan, so that they can feel confident that their estate plan and how they're living now is all in good hands.
What do you like about being a financial advisor?
Well, I like helping people of all types of people at all stages of their lives, and I get satisfaction of knowing I've done something good for the people. And this day and age, so much is changing all the time. Education is really important so people understand what's going on in the financial world. And then when you see people meet their retirement goals, or even things in the middle, not just retirement, but in the middle, and helping the young people, because I like to get people started in the right direction so that they know down the road they're going to be in good shape.
So my guess is there's a lot of women watching today who say, I really want to talk to Susan, because she kind of gets me. So if somebody wants to find you, they want to talk to you, how can they get a hold of you?
Okay, they can go to www.financialplannertroy, that's TROY.com. And that's my website, and they can go also to that website and fill out the contact form. And if they'd like for me to contact them, I can do that as well. I can get in touch with them.
That's great. Susan, thank you so much for joining us today. And thanks to all of you for watching another edition of Spotlight Television.